Y'all already know what it is. Jay Williams, Let's Live Life, and we're back. The Bloods just run things in the prisons out here. That's just what it is. Got two bangers for y'all today. Start off with showing y'all a clip of something that happened not long ago at Greensville. Let me give y'all a story of something I seen, and then we'll jump back into that clip.
Disturbing detail was the fact that prosecutors believe the guard had an ongoing relationship with a known blood gang member inside that prison, and they believe she opened secure doors, turning her keys and back on a brutal assault.
Nightmare to have someone who's willing to get involved at that level with inmates and willing to commit these sorts of crimes, or at least, at the very least, let them happen. It's very scary for the inmates to think that they are not protected. It's very scary for us to think that, you know, we have that sort of security breach, those sort of issues going on.
Assistant Prosecutor Ronnie West will be tasked to prove the case against former Greensville Correction Officer Raquel Graham and 6 other inmates, all charged with attempted murder, gang crimes, and assault by mob. A grand jury handing up indictments this week on the suspected 7 after more than a year-long investigation by the Department of Corrections. Graham was arrested Wednesday night during a traffic stop in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina.
You know, a lot of people tend to forget about inmates and forget that they're there, they exist. Greensville has a very large population of inmates. The worst part is, you know, we're trying to help these individuals. We want to rehabilitate them.
Prosecutors say the victim in this case was an inmate, beaten and stabbed, and it's noted in the investigative report that Graham took her time calling medical for the injured inmate. He was flown to VCU Medical Center. He did survive. Prosecutors claim Graham had a relationship with a known blood gang member inside the prison, and they believe she allowed the inmates to access the victim to pull off the beatdown.
If they're willing to do this when they're locked up behind closed doors, what are they willing to do when they get out?
And Billy Candace, Crime Insider sources tell me the surveillance camera that was in the pod where that beatdown took place was turned away from the action days before the beating. Graham will have a bond hearing on February 15th. Working for you in Richmond tonight, John Burkett, CBS 6 News.
Is this uncommon? Is this something new? Nah, not at all. Let's relive it. So in 2006, at that time, I'd been in prison almost a year. I just got my 10-year bid underway. Been down almost 2 years at that point. Immediately, like, as soon as I got to prison, I found out one thing for sure. The Bloods run that compound. They pretty much run all the compounds out here. But with a compound that large, a place that houses almost 3,700 inmates, there's going to be a lot of gangs. And the Bloods ran that shit hands down. Nobody was really going head to head with them because the numbers were just so insane. For you to go up against all of them, it was pretty much a suicide mission. You know, you're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these dudes against a handful of people that might band together. We had a dude show up there from Portsmouth jail, probably 19, 20 years old. Didn't have a lot of time to do. If I remember right, I think dude had like 2-3 years. I didn't kick it with dude. I just seen what happened and then heard the aftermath of why it happened. This dude would show up, and upon getting there, he told everybody he was Blood. I honestly think he had no affiliation. He didn't really know any Bloods. Maybe he kicked it with some in the jail or something. But whatever the case may be, if you're going to claim a gang, you're going to be tested the moment you get there. They're going to push up on you. They're going to check your knowledge, which is, you know, the way you respond when they ask you a question, your answers, things that only gang members know. I told you about my homeboy that got his jaw wired up. Same shit, but his knowledge was good. They checked this dude, and this dude tried to, oh man, I'm new, I just got down. I don't really know much of the knowledge yet. Who put you down? Everything he was saying kept coming back false. He'd already been slapped a couple times. A couple dudes that put hands on him, punched him a couple times. He'd be in the middle of talking, and somebody would just take off on him because nobody believed what he said. He went to the guards, told the guards, I fear for my life. I'm gonna end up getting stabbed. These dudes are talking about killing me. The guards we had shunned him off. They pretty much told him, you know, you don't want to deal with gang shit, don't come to prison. You don't want to get jumped or hurt by gangs, don't join gangs. You got yourself in this, get yourself out. This is what the guards told him. Now, some of these guys that were sergeants and lieutenants at the time, you got to think some of these guys are old enough that they got grandchildren. So they got children older than this young man that's coming to them for help. These are parents that are seeing another human being in need, in distress, and they're not doing anything because they're just trying to carry it like guards. Dude would continue. Dude would go to the counselor. He'd write letters to these people. Look, I've been attacked. And nobody would do nothing about it. He'd walk around, you know, and they'd say, look, we can throw you in the hole. But he'd tell them, if you throw me in the hole, you're just going to put me on the other side of the yard. What good is that going to do? You know what I mean? I'm just going to get attacked over there. Like, something needs to be done with this situation. They tell him, well, if we go say something to the guys, you're going to be labeled a snitch, so your problem's going to be that much worse. And there's a lot of truth in them saying that. But even with all that, they should have figured something out, done something to help this dude. We're on the weight yard one day, out there lifting weights on the rec yard, just pumping steel. And that day in particular, our building had the weight pit. And then beside my building that I lived in, you got 7 buildings and you got 8 building. Then the weight pit is in the middle of where 8 building would be. And then half of the building from 8 and then 9 building are on that side of the yard. And there's a fence. This dude would be walking the yard. Nobody was really messing with him. Nobody really fucked with him, rocked with him. Nobody wanted any backlash from all the lies they thought he had told. Nobody wanted to get caught up with him. He was solo dolo. He's going in the back of the building, and all of a sudden I hear all this screaming and commotion. And it's a scream that you know very well if you've ever heard somebody getting stabbed or somebody being attacked with a weapon. It's a scream that comes from deep, deep inside. It's not a scream you can mimic. It's not a scream you can recreate. It's a scream that can only be created by the fear for your life accompanied with a whole bunch of pain. And that's what was going on. We stopped lifting weights, looked over. They were doing a gate break, meaning after an hour being outside, if you want to go in, you can go in. Rec is 2 hours, but at halfway point, if you want to go in, you can go in. This dude starts going in the building, and these bloods run up on him, and they just start stabbing him. Not 1, not 2, not 3. I'm talking like 5 of these dudes are on him, and then you got a couple of him that are trying to hold him as he's trying to run. They're grabbing him by his shirt, slinging him in circles, and the dudes are just stabbing this dude, hitting this young dude with his knife over and over and over and over and over. And we're just inside the fence, just kind of holding onto the chain link, just watching it. And the guard, there's one guard out there, has no clue what to do. This guard had been warned of the situation. She knew what was going on. She knew this dude's life was in danger. Now she's seeing it firsthand. Somebody, you know, all these dudes are trying to kill him. She starts hitting the code, and there's so many people crowded around him that you can't. I knew who was doing it because I knew some of these dudes and I knew them by name. But for her, it's just a crowd of dudes and one guy in the middle being assaulted. Not to mention, you got all the other people that aren't involved that are just trying to get in the building real quick so they don't get locked up under investigation or become part of what's going on. They tried their best to kill this dude. They didn't succeed. All these guys would go on, not all of them, I think it was like 3 of them went on to get street charges, attempted murder charges, malicious wounding charges, weapon charges. A few of them just had a couple years. But because they were in that gang and they rocked out behind that gang, they turned something small into, you know, possibly a lifetime in prison. We fast forward to the story I was telling y'all about in the beginning, which also happened at the same prison at Greensville. This was a couple years back. I just ran across the article. I'd seen it before, but I figured I'd wait and save it for the right time. We have this dude that's got problems with these dudes up there. They didn't say what his problems were, why these bloods had problems with him. They didn't get into none of that. What they did say is that the officer in the control booth opened the door and allowed 6 inmates to come in to that living area, to that pod that didn't live there, then opened the door to a cell where another inmate lived, and they went in there and they stabbed him and beat him repeatedly. She sat in the control booth knowing this was going on, knowing they were trying to kill this dude in this cell, and did nothing. They failed. The boy ended up having to be med-flighted up off of there, taken to a hospital in critical condition, and he survived. All 6 of the dudes that attacked him now have street charges. The guard now has street charges, and they're saying that she's got blood ties. This goes back to several different videos I've done. 1, will the guards protect you? Well, in both these situations here, you see that something could have been done about it to stop it before it happened. In both these situations, the guards were aware of what was going on. And in this last situation, the guard, I won't say was the reason it happened, but she allowed it to happen. In prison, if somebody wants you, they're going to get you no matter what. You know, it's just the way it goes. I've seen dudes that get stuck with no other option but to attack you in front of a guard. And if that's where they have to get you at, that's where they have to get you at. I've seen situations where they catch you in the gym or coming down a hallway where nobody's at. And even though nobody can see, the camera sees, and they get hemmed up like that. The gangs for some dudes can be a form of protection, a form of family, a form of security. That it can also be the same thing that cost you your life. Them gangs can also be your biggest threat. I'm sure things don't run the same on the West as they do the East. Like I told the story of Rocky Reynolds and how they said he couldn't bang Crip. That wasn't the Crip saying he couldn't bang Crip. I done met a lot of white Crips. That was one particular dude showing up there saying he didn't agree with white boys banging Crip. Rocky was lucky enough that he was solidified. Everything he said was true. Everything he knew was true. But that's not always the case. You can fall up under people sometimes in life that you think are leading you in the right direction, but they're actually leading you down, you know, the worst possible road. You're headed towards the worst possible scenario. This young dude's got a mom out there, dad out there, and they're both thinking, you know, he'll be okay in prison. He won't die in these streets. Only for him to go to prison and get stabbed over and over and over and just beat day after day after day with no help in sight. You think that you go to prison, you lock in these cells and everything's going to be okay until a guard like this guard decides she wants to try to impress some other men. And she opens that door and lets these dudes just come through there with knives. And the one person in there that you think you can depend on to save you sits there watching from a control booth as it transpires. Let me tell you this. The only person that can and will ever be able to save you in those situations is yourself. If you ever find yourself in a situation to where you're headed to prison, stay away from the gangs. And if you don't heed my warning, then when shit goes south and you end up having to deal with something you're not ready with or ready for, just remember I told you so, man. But anyway, y'all know this is just a crazy, crazy world that we live in. And all these places I talk about are just crazier worlds inside of this world. Just trying to keep y'all entertained, man. Are you not entertained? Anyways, this is Jay Williams. Let's live life. To all my real ones and the awesome real ones watching, because y'all still watching me. Y'all know how we do, man. Salute.